in your environment. But that's true. Most people ask us, can I use the new web versions of Word, Excel, and PowerPoint with SuperOffice? Do I have to install Office locally to be able to work with documents when it comes to SuperOffice? That's most of the questions are there. The same thing is with Google. Google Documents or Google Docs, they mean the same thing. Can I work with the documents and the applications that Google provides to manipulate documents, presentations, and spreadsheets with SuperOffice? And that's what this session is all about. We have come up and we have worked very hard. We have worked in tight cooperation with Microsoft, with various other ISV partners of Microsoft in Norway. No one at this point has came up with us with a solution and saying, this is how we should do it. So this is basically done by a couple of guys in the R&D department that are really starting to dig into the technology, to the authentication methods, to APIs, to learn this from scratch. And I think we've come quite far. We're going to show you what it looks like and the concepts today. I'm only going to give you a short introduction, and then I will dig into and see live how it works. But we are now telling our cloud customers, CRM online customers in stage 1, that you can now use Google Apps for Business or Office 365 Business Edition as your productive tool to write documents together with SuperOffice. And there are quite a difference between the subscription Google Apps for Business and Google Drive as you as a private person have. Because in Google Apps for Business there is a sense of a user group within a company. And some limitations to share information outside that user group that Google handles for us. And Google Drive for private persons is a free thing up to a certain amount of storage. Google Apps for Business is something you subscribe to per user per month. It's really cheap, but it's a subscription that you enter into with Google. Same situation is with Office 365. It's not a private version that you can have on 5 devices this school edition of Office 365. It's the Office 365 version for businesses. So you have to have that kind of subscription. But you can live on the minimum plan when it comes to SuperOffice. There are 3 different plans when it comes to Office 365. And we just require the minimum plan. If you have questions during the presentation, please just ask them. So, what's in it for the customer? So, obviously, one of the upsides are running Office and edit document from any computer, everywhere, anywhere, at any time. So you just log into a browser, and then you can complete your documents, work with your documents, edit and save them within exactly that. Or if you need quite advanced solutions, you can download and install Word locally, like in the new streaming technology that Microsoft uses to install temporary and local version of Word or Excel or PowerPoint to enhance features inside the app. Second, this is also for companies who have a rental strategy. They would like all software they have to be software as a service. Even the production tools on the computer that Office products really are. Usually they are the last products that people rent. They start to rent ERP or rent CRM, and then they expand and want to rent document storage, they want to rent productivity products per user per month. And this fits quite nice together with with CRM Online. This also has the same concept. Rent it per user per month. Another upside is that when using this tool, you can also now do simultaneous edits. So two users can sit and edit to the same documents, and it gets warning and immediately updates on what the other users are writing inside the document. Google is a bit better, I think, than Office 365 on that, but they have the same features. So you will not, in how this works today is that if two users open documents in SuperOffice, they download the copy, they edit it both, one of them will lose everything when they upload it again. Because we just push up the file that we see is stored. So if you are in a situation where you multiple users working on the same document at the same time, then this is the only good solution for our online customer today. You do not have to install web tools at the computers when you use this solution. There are never any files on your local computer at all. That leaves out a bit of hassle when it comes to installing and maintaining and upgrading when new versions of the web tools are coming. But the rest of the web tools that triggers alarms, that synchronizes your diary on the Macintosh, all these things will then be lost. So it will only happen document handling. You don't need web tools. Office 365 is a SharePoint site. That means that all capabilities that SharePoint has and offer their Office 365 customers, all the features are also available on SuperOffice documents. Meaning creating your own views on that portal, meaning enabling workflow documents, revision handling, all these kinds of things that's built into Office 365 is now also available for the SuperOffice document. We do not utilize any of that at the moment. We do not utilize any special views or metadata on documents when it comes to it. All you do, as you will see, is to work with SuperOffice documents as you are used to. Into SuperOffice, press right, select template, create, edit document, close it, then totally normal workflow that we always use when we use SuperOffice. It could be also be a point that if a company has strategic decision that says, my documents are stored in the Microsoft Cloud, I don't want SuperOffice documents to be stored in the SuperOffice Cloud. I would like them to be stored in the same place. That will also be one of the effects that you have of running Office in the cloud. Same with Google Docs and Office 365. We have set some preconditions when you go out to this now. And we say that this is for customers with a cloud document strategy. We are not trying to push the message or advise our customers to move into the Office Cloud or the Google Cloud with their documents. This is something that they have decided on. They think is a smart idea themselves. As I said, Google Apps for Business or Office 365 Business subscription, every user that is going to use SuperOffice needs to have one of those. So you cannot say these two in the corner up there, they should use Office 365 and the rest of you guys are going to use the normal SuperOffice document handling, and by the way, you two should use Google Docs. So you choose between one of these three ways of storing documents. And it's not because it's technically impossible, it's because it's impossible to support, install, explain all these kind of things. Just to make sure, backup and restore is no longer a SuperOffice only task. To delete a document, you need to, of course, restore it in a database, but also you have to go into call Microsoft and say, please restore a document data because I've deleted this document. So you have to use their backup and restore routines. as a side effect, documents are no longer in our control. The files are no longer in SuperOffice control. We just contain pointers. Also, we had said that SuperOffice user needs to authenticate no longer with their SuperOffice username and password. They need to log in with their Google credentials or their Office 365 credentials. So if you have set up your system to learn to use Office 365, you have to authenticate through that. And you probably are used to doing this on various websites yourself. Log in with Facebook or log in with Google or these kind of things. Now you do it also in the login screen on CRM Online. The last thing, Outlook mailing. Installed locally is the only technology available at the moment that we can integrate on the user interface. So Microsoft Outlook for web do not have sufficient interfaces and hooks for us to re-implement our mailing as it is on-premise or locally installed today. We have to wait until that technology is available. In the meantime, yeah?
The streamed one.
I haven't tried, so I can't answer. Maybe you have tried it.
What was the question?
The streamed or the streamed installed Outlook. I think you have to add this add-ins anyway. I don't think it does work. You have to find a way to add the comma in SuperOffice in Outlook to be able to use the mailing, because it's a comma in that does this, and the new technology, integration technology, is not to found of comma itself. So in that case, you have to use the SuperOffice inbox to archive and manipulate emails when it comes to those who do not have Outlook installed locally at the moment. But the emails that you archive from your locally installed Outlook will be stored in the Microsoft Cloud or the Google Cloud as files. That way is that.
That's a good thing. I think it's my turn now.
Yeah. Introducing Mr. Cloud Documents. Hans Oluf is one of the two wizards and Office 365 and Google apps developers who has really been doing a great job for this. So he's now going to give us a sneak peek.
Yeah, I thought so. Well, when we started this project, we thought a little bit small. We thought that we just want to create the documents in the cloud. We want to put the Google documents out there. We want to put the Word, the presentations, and everything up in the cloud. But then we start looking at the user experience. Let's say that you enter the online login page. You enter your SuperOffice credentials. Then you get into the SuperOffice installation. You click Write Document, and you choose one of the cloud templates. And then we redirect you to Google. But what happens then if you're not already logged in with Google? Then you have to log in with your Google credentials. And this will break a little bit the user experience. They expect that logging into one system, which is so tightly integrated, they only need to use one set of credentials. Then we started to look a little bit around and see, what if we allow the user to use his Google credentials and enter them in the SuperOffice login page? What happens then is, what if Google or Microsoft Office 365 decides to enable multi-factor authentication? Let's say they add support for fingerprints, add support for Active Directory, and whatnot. We don't want to be part of that one. We don't want to know what Google does to authenticate its users. And that's why we're using something called federated authentication. You have seen it in a lot of pages you have been visiting. You can see, oh, log in with Facebook, log in with Twitter, log in with this, log in with that. And we wanted to offer the same experience. If you enter our login page, you should be able to click login with Google, login with Office 365. And that's what I'm going to show you now. So, before I start demoing, I would express that this is from our development environment. This is pre-alpha. This is pre-everything. You see here on the login page that we have still the possibility to use email address and password. These are SuperOffice credentials. But at the bottom here, you see that we have added Google and Office 365. So what federated authentication means is that we're making Office 365 or Google authenticate and return an identity to us. And we don't care how they authenticate its users. We just want to know which user it is. So if you, for instance, ask Google, we'll get an email address and maybe what you like for breakfast on Saturday morning. I'm just kidding. So let's start with Office 365. I click it, and then I will be redirected to Office 365. And they have chosen to have very long usernames. And it's a good idea to type it in correctly. And now we have gotten the identity back from Office, and we validate that it actually comes from Microsoft, because we trust Microsoft and the token that we are receiving, that one we can validate. And when we receive it, we check which installations does this customer of this email address has access to. In this case, my user has access to 2 installations.
That's not a normal case, is it?
That's not a normal case, but since it's a test environment, I could have a lot of installations. If I had only access to 1 installation, I would be redirected to my installation instantaneously.
You agreed to blame the network on the hotel now?
Yeah. So here we are. Now we are logged into SuperOffice using my Office 365 account. Let's go to another example. And now I want to create a document. I have 2 document types here, which I can change between. And you might see that we have a language variation here. So when I select a template, we will ask the cloud, what are your language variations for this template? So I will pick form letter now. Hello, expand the world. And press create. Now what's happening in the background is that we're taking the template from the cloud, downloading it to our web server, and substituting all the template variables, if there are any, with the correct values. So here you can see expand the world, demo 2013, hello expand the world, my name.
Deserves an applause.
And I can close it, and I can open it again, and I will be redirected to Office 365 immediately. How many of you have seen how Google Drive or Google Documents work? Yeah, some of you. You might notice in the Google world, you have just one web application. Microsoft has done something entirely differently. They have added their Word web app, which lacks a lot of functionality for more advanced users. So here you can see, you might recognize the different ribbons, but if you are an advanced Word user, you might see that it's lacking references. We also found out if we had some background images, they would not be shown here. So what they want is that you download the documents, stream it to your local computer, edit them there, and upload them back into the cloud, which are done seamlessly by Microsoft. Now, let's just log out again. And now let's just log into Office 365 account. Come on. I don't think the net likes me. Maybe Microsoft doesn't like Chrome. Okay. Try using.
Yeah, Internet Explorer.
Yeah, thank you. Because now I'm logged into Office 365. Now what happens if I go into our login page and press Office 365? I'm automatically logged in without needing to enter any credentials at all.
That's cool.
Now, what about Google? I also want to log into my Google account. And not with Eric either.
God forbid.
So the same thing happens. Google returns the identity of the authenticated user. We're checking it up towards our user master database to see, do we know this user? And if we do know the user, we will redirect to the installation. There we are. Now we're logged in with our Google account. And now I can do the same thing as with Office 365. We create a new letter. the same thing happens for Google now. We are downloading the template from the cloud, we are substituting it with the template variables and putting it up there in the cloud. And then we're finally redirecting the user to the document. So he can change what he wants. And the same experience, if I double click it, it will open up in the editor, ready for the user editing it.
What kind of format is it? Say docx or?
Google is using its own format. So if you open up a document, sorry it's not in Norwegian here, you have the possibility to download it in different formats.
How do you get your templates up there? Or
Good question.
No one paid attention
You're aware for this. Yeah. We studied this.
So we have added the possibility to put your example, to create a whole new template within WebAdmin. You have also the possibility to upload based on an existing document template. If you are uploading a document, it will be converted to the Google internal format.
So you could take all the templates from a traditional SOR online and upload them. Yeah?
Yes.
Yes.
And does our template variable work the same way?
The template variables works entirely the same way as for SOR. It's the same variables, it's the same system. The document plugin that we have created masks the differences between the architectures.
Remember to use the brackets you use in HTML.
But if you've got old style templates, then you've got to modify
No, there are two situations, and maybe we'll come back to it. You could choose to have your templates in the SuperOffice cloud, as in the SOR template today, but you want them to end up as documents in Google, so you don't have to do anything. Just point them to that this template should end up in Google. Or you can upload your templates to the Google Drive, to a separate template folder that we will hide from you, but we'll put it in the correct way. And then you can continue to edit them there, directly from you. Is that correct?
Yeah. So when you've created a template, you can go into it, press edit, and it will open a new window for you to edit. And here you see the template variables.
I have a question. Will this plug into the 365 and Google Docs work with more traditional on-premise solution as SuperOffice, Windows version or web version on local servers? Or is it depending on the online version?
At the moment, it's only offered to our online customers. We will try to make an effort to get it also to work with our on-premise web client customers. But that requires that they would have to register at the central SuperOffice place, because they don't want to install all these gateways and authentication servers and shit like that. The Windows version will not try to support handling this all. I mean, if you have a strategy that you install locally your Windows client on every computer in your network, you don't want to use a Office 365 strategy to your documents. That's my claim. But version 1, we offer this only to CRM online customers.
Can you show how a document that's created through SuperOffice is appears in your Office or your Google.
I can show it for in the Sharepoint. And let's use IE again for that one. So SharePoint allows us to kind of recreate the structure that we're using for SOR. So if I go into the archive here, I think you all recognize this structure. You see that we have all the templates. And here you might see a difference from your normal SOR on the language codes. We're not using the SuperOffice language codes here, but we're using the ISOs instead. So we are mimicking all the structure. And we are also doing, let's see if I can find. This is a test application, so we have a lot of test data. But you see that we are mimicking the structure in Google Drive as well, with one big exception. Google likes to think that if you are creating the document, you are the owner of the document. So if your user is deleted, so is your documents. So to prevent that, we are using a system user for Google. Is they call it a service account, which when you provisioning a new Google installation, then we need to set up that system user.
And then the normal users, when they go into the drive, they will not see the documents at all.
No.
So you will not find your documents in your Google Drive. It will be only through the SuperOffice user interface that they will be opened and closed.
The reason that I'm seeing it here is because I'm logged in as that system user.
But when it comes to sharing documents,
When it comes to sharing documents, you have the share button here. So you can decide if you want to share it to other outside your company with the direct link or whatnot.
And the administrator in that situation also have the possibility to say users are not allowed to share outside my company at all. So that's a property you can use when you use Google applications for businesses.
and if I sit in SuperOffice and say this document is only available for me and my group,
And it's only handheld in the lists inside SuperOffice. If you enter the drive, it's the Google credentials that are handheld. And in a normal situation where you have never shared it, it will never be available in that place for anyone. It will only be visible in SuperOffice unless you open the document from SuperOffice and click share and share it with the rest of the company. Then it will be appear in any drive that is you are sharing. Two quite different ways of handling documents, and I guess you have to study how Google handles documents because we are using normal way of handling documents, but it's a bit different than a normal file system that you usually compare it with.
As I understand, you say that it's actually only for me until I do something active to share it with the other people in the company.
It's through SuperOffice available for everyone that it's visible for. So when you are in the SuperOffice client, any user who can will see that document can open it automatically. But
So
if
it's
you
the
go
same as
in the
before.
back door into Google Drive and try to find it again, you need to be logged in as a system account to be able to find the documents unless someone has shared it with your Google user.
If we were migrating a traditional Windows-based SuperOffice user to this environment, can we take the
I will come back to that later.
One question when it comes if we, for instance, if we, I mean, this is, as I understand it, can be very attractive for companies that already has this strategy. If they already have everything up in Google and so on, and we want to avoid to share documents with users already there, do you then create some kind of similarity to a user group in Google that only have access to the SuperOffice documents? Or are those documents available to everybody in that group already created up in the Google environment?
I guess you have to go on a Google document course to know that.
Okay, then I do that. Sorry for asking that
It's
question.
logging into
Shame
Google,
on me.
Google as an account, and you use the options as you have as an administrator in Google to say who is default profile documents.
When it comes to user interface in SuperOffice, we have this opportunity to right-click on the document and send it as email, for instance.
Yeah. Internally, all the documents are handled just as streams as all the other infrastructure.
But what if you right-click on a Google document? What will happen with it?
It will be exported
To a Word.
Yeah.
Okay.
We will try the document plugins that we have created. We'll try at best to mimic the SOR behavior. So if you have a document, it will try to convert it to a docx. If you have a presentation, it's PPTX. So it can be sent. So it can be handled by the already existing infrastructure. For instance, we have also added support for mailing. So mailing can take all the documents from the cloud and send them.
Could you choose the destination? Perhaps you don't want it to be on the Google site, but where you host your CRM line.
When we are, there are some steps that needs to be taken when you are configuring an installation to go towards Google, for instance. We need to set where do you want to store the documents.
Just using Google or Office to create document and just put them on the same place where it's now on.
Google or Microsoft won't let us do that.
It's
They close that door, very efficient. So are you using their application? You have stored them
You have
there,
to store that, okay.
and you have no option except exporting the copies of them. You can, for some reason, mix it here. If you go onto a template, normal template, not the Google, if this is the template is a Word document, you can choose that this template should end up, when I write these documents, it should end up in the SOR, and these should end up in Google. If you have that, we strongly recommend that you keep the one document stored in one sets of templates.
Is that by default, or a default new installation would be you choose Google or Office 365?
I will come back to that in a bit later.
I'm just going to show you a little bit about the users. As I said, this is a development environment, so things that we have created in 7.5 haven't been backported to 7.3. So this bit here is changed in 7.5, and those changes are going to merge back here. But what this practically mean is that when yeah, you can't see that so very good. But the only thing that when you're creating a new user, you just type in his email address in his as a username, and that's it. Then you can use that installation, provided that that user has access or is an enterprise account.
So in the admin, you can click on a user and say, how should this user authenticate? Should it be Google or should it be SuperOffice? But we say that in this installation, we would like every user to authenticate with Google if they're going to use Google Docs a lot.
Is there anything you want me to show? Anything more?
I have one question. So are there any considerations when on-premise customers going to migrate to online
I think Eric will cover
Yeah,
that.
I will go through.
Yeah.
So we can take the rest and then cut off with some questions at the very end.
Yeah, I'm not finished yet.
Oh, you're not finished.
Oh.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Finished.
Too keen.
Okay, I'm just going to talk about a little bit what happens behind the scenes, because what you see is quite simplified. You never get to see all the complex architecture that is behind to be allowed to upload some documents to the cloud. So a user typically uses one or multiple browsers such as Firefox, Safari, IE, and so on. And they navigate to our login page, and they typically take, for instance, Office 365. Office 365 sends us a token about the user, which I explained previously, and we check out that token. Is this user known to us? And that's fine, that's easy. But now we need also to ask for permission to upload documents to be authorized. So we have to check if, do I have something called an access token? They're using a protocol called EW. How many of you have heard about that protocol before? One. EW is used by multiple sites out there. Facebook is using it, Twitter is using it. When you use an application on Facebook, for instance, you can see a consent dialog. Do you want this application to access your profile? And it's the same thing that we need to do here as well. We need to ask, can this application be allowed, can our application be allowed to access your documents? And if the user says yes, we receive a code, authorization code, which we then again need to use something called a back channel. We need to talk server to server to exchange that code into access and refresh tokens that we actually can use. And when that's done, we can log in and we can access the web services of both Google and Office 365. But that's not it. At a later point, the access tokens that we have been provided might expire. So then we need to ask again, hey, give me some new tokens that I can use to create new documents or access the documents. And all that infrastructure is not seen by the customer. They only see the consent dialog maybe every 6 months for Microsoft and never for Office 365. So how did we manage to do all of these things? It turns out that Google and Office 365, they have their apps. When you're using a map, you can access the cloud. So for Google, we have registered a Google application. For Office 365, we have registered a Sharepoint application that allows us to access documents. But that's on talking to the cloud. What about internally in SuperOffice? Well, here we have actually used the Expander SDK. We have used all the authentication plugins that are available for the partners. We have used the document plugin structure that is also available for partners. So when creating document plugins, when creating the authentication, we have used the same integration points that partners have available. And now it's your turn.
And a bit validators there, are you sure?
Thank you.
Yeah, that says it all. We start carefully with this one. We need to ensure that this is a stable solution. Because what happens if we have up to now, in some period, experience that the Office 365 login page is unstable. So what will happen then? People will not be able to log into SuperOffice. If that login page is down, you cannot be logged in. So we need to get this rock solid before we go out to the masses and automatically offer this by a single click, configure this for me. So we will start by request. People who says, I really want to try this out, is it possible for me to try it out? Then we, in SuperOffice operations, go in and say, this customer is going to use Office 365 as his office. That's something that you need to call in with us or call in with your SuperOffice support center to be able to configure. We will, in step one, we will, of course, when the product is rock solid and hit, we will make sure that it's automated provisioning here. But at the moment, we need to send an email to the administrator that we have to do this step within inside Office to activate this kind of integration. So it's a guide that the administrator needs to go into a website and define some points. Of course, they all need to be customers of Office 365 or Google Apps or businesses. We don't sell that in the same process. They need to buy that first, have the user accounts and stuff, and then go in. So we will quite soon, immediately when we launch 7.3, the version online, we will start the pilot program. So if you have customers interested in going live on this, contact us. Then we will go into this pilot or early adaptive program. Yeah.
Does it also work with Pockets URL if you open a document?
Yes. So you'll also be able to log in with Pockets URL using your Office 365 account. And you will also be able to open the documents and view them on your phone.
Does that open the way to edit documents in the future?
Haven't really decided yet. It should be possible. The applications for various operating systems are not the same. So the browser that lives on an Apple device is not handling an application just as good as a smart pad or pad from Microsoft. So it could be a communication problem saying that, okay, you use Chrome on your iPhone, that's okay, but if you use the built-in on your Samsung, that's not okay. So we really don't know. But everyone will be able to open them. If we will implement edit in the first round, and still not decided, we have to test and investigate a bit more on that. We have decided to not offer migration services at the moment. That means we will not, if you have a lot of documents already in CRM Online, in your SOR, in our cloud, we will not offer to move them. We don't really see the point. If you, for some reason, plan to cut your Office 365 subscription, we do not offer any automated migration back to the SuperOffice SOR directly in your online solution. So that is something you then have to be, as a consultant, job to do in a semi-manual way to solve that. But we are ready to start off with customers once 7.3 is out there, to go with full-fledged web-based Office applications using that in SuperOffice and together with Office 365 or Google Apps for Businesses. Yes?
Are the SuperOffice file names in compliance with the Sharepoint directives or file names?
I don't know.
The SharePoint has strict rules. You can't have question marks. And
yeah, we filter. We have
SuperOffice is okay.
Yeah. It's one of the responsibilities of the document plugin to make sure that things are getting stored correctly.
Yes, that's it. So, have a nice evening, a nice dinner, and see you all tomorrow. Well rested.
på